Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. I hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video right here on the markets. We're going to do a full update. I'll try to tell you everything you need to know regarding the markets today, but also for the rest of the week. We'll talk a little bit about tomorrow, new all-time highs. What does that mean for Bitcoin? What does it mean for altcoins? We'll take a look at XRP and Ethereum specifically, and then we'll take a look at some other altcoins that I think have momentum. I made a video this morning, by the way, on my views on the entire altcoin market. So if you're interested in that, and I very much enjoy making these videos on the total altcoin markets, but I also think they're very, very valuable. So if you're interested in that, check that out. It's called Altcoin Bull Run Incoming ? Which is a bit of a clickbait title. My apologies, but you need to get people involved, right? You need to attract people to give them some value. But for now, let's do a full update on the markets. Now, fundamentally, there's not much that we need to talk about. Yesterday, of course, we had the FOMC minutes, but we already briefly spoke about that in my Bitcoin video. I think that had some relevance, but ultimately, and I think that played a part in causing the breakout right here above our most important resistance level at 110,000. But it's not that important that we need to spend too much time talking about it. Today we have no major economic data. There were some headlines regarding Russia and the United States and Ukraine, of course, and the situation there. I don't think it's relevant to get into that. I mean, ultimately, what we can see right here is that the stock market has opened a little bit down, but no major problems. And we also still, if I can load it up right here, we also still have a major Coinbase Bitcoin premium. So that is a bit of an indication that at least the crypto market relative to the stock market is also still quite strong and still quite healthy. So that's good to know. It's something to be aware of, right? If this pulls back further, maybe we should be a little bit careful for a pullback. But at this point of time, it's fine. The volatility index is very low. Gold is just moving sideways. And outside of that, you can see something like the Russell 2000, which is sometimes seen as a very great gauge for how Bitcoin should move and how Bitcoin will move, is still bullish right here. So ultimately, I don't think there's any reason fundamentally to be worried, although it's always good to, keep your eyes on news sites, both left and right sources and neutral sources, if they exist, and follow the headlines. But all right, let's talk about the more relevant stuff right here, Bitcoin. So for that, we are going to take a look at the footprint chart right here. You can see that with that very strong move of Bitcoin yesterday above our most important resistance level, which is this level right here at 110,000. That's the value area high since the previous all-time high we made. Therefore relevant. What you can see is that we left some imbalances to the downside. Now, imbalances will always be left. There's almost imbalances every single day. However, in this case, and I spoke about this in my Bitcoin video as well, in this case, I think those imbalances give us a really good a really good kind of area to look at to say, all right, is Bitcoin still strong? Is it still weak? Because ultimately, look, the fundamentals are kind of contrasting here, because we do have a Coinbase Bitcoin premium that's bullish. So that's great. But then outside of that, we should not forget that if you take a look at Thursday and especially Friday, those are usually de-risking days, right? Thursday the last month, Friday in the last 3 months, has historically on average always been bearish. And you can see Wednesday historically is quite bullish, and the Monday until Wednesday are the best days in the last 3 months. So that is something to be aware of. And ultimately, the main question is going to be, all right, if we're going to get that bearish pressure, can we get a strong reaction to these imbalances? So the first imbalance is right here at 110,500. I opened a small long position from there, just in transparency. Now, do I think that's going to hold? I think it's unlikely. I think it's more likely that Bitcoin is going to test this major imbalance right here at 110,000. That's also retesting the value area high, and that's retesting the 0.618 FIB with the potential to spike down to the 7-day rolling VWAP. So I think it's more likely we're going to test that. If we get a strong reaction, meaning, if we can reclaim 110,500 from there, I would say that's a good reaction, and I would say we can actually rally up higher. Short term, but that's a short-term prediction, right? Because I don't actually think on the higher time frames Bitcoin is going to surge all the way up to 120,000. It's a possibility. I don't think it's most likely for now, and if it does turn out to be more likely, I will switch my bias, but that is not in play right now. So I would say this is most likely for Bitcoin. I think Ethereum actually still actually looks relatively similar, although I must say Ethereum looks a little bit stronger. Ethereum has not seen any major pullback since it broke out above the yearly rolling VWAP. So it also has these imbalances lower. But if we go there, I will buy. And at this point in time, it looks a little bit more likely that we're not even going to go there. Or at least not that low. I do think Ethereum will follow Bitcoin, but then it's the same principle applies, right? I mean, if we get a strong reaction to that level between 2710, 2680, that's good news, all right? And then we can bounce back up, and then we can also rally up higher into 2850 and maybe 3000. Who knows? But Ethereum at this point of time actually looks a little stronger than Bitcoin, which is something interesting and something good to know. XRP, as expected, is starting to pull back. Most important level for XRP to watch is 2.34, 2.32. Potential buy area, but that is something I'll keep you updated on. And if you're interested in my real actions in that, such as my Bitcoin long, consider joining the premium or the signal group that we have. Now, talking about altcoins in specific, I think the others chart, which I spoke about this morning, is due for a pullback from this area right here around $250 billion. So that's something to be aware of when you're trading altcoins. I think a pullback, even though there's quite a lot of euphoria and quite a lot of FOMO in the markets, I think a pullback relatively soon, especially with the de-risking on Friday, is actually more likely. And then after that, I do expect more bullish momentum. And then when we talk about altcoins in general, and when we talk about, what has momentum and from what can we expect something, it's I would stick personally to the majors, right? So something like SUI has a lot of momentum, something like Bitcoin has a lot of momentum, something like Ethereum has a lot of momentum. You don't necessarily need to get into these riskier, lower volume altcoins. If you really do want to know some coins that I think look pretty interesting, it's something like EtherFi, right? So that's this is the name of the coin. Looks quite interesting. Gala also looks quite interesting. Token looks quite interesting, and Celestia looks quite interesting. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think that's what you need to know for today. So hopefully that helps. But for now, have a great day. I'll see you on my next videos, and bye.